So I have a question for you. I really want you to think about this question. Whose life path are you on? Are you on your life path? The one that you designed for yourself, the one that makes sense to you, the one that's going to get you closer to your goals, dreams, desires, and away from all the things you don't like? Or are you living someone else's life path? Maybe it's somebody really close to you, a family member, a parent. Maybe it's an institution's life path, something that the institutions you're tied to, your religion or some kind of a political cause or some social group has told you should live. Like, whose life path are you actually on? My name is Joel Mark Witt. I'm here with Antonia Dodge from Personality Hacker. We've been teaching personality types since 2010. We've had a very popular podcast since 2014, talking about personality types and how to make them come alive in your life. And one of the things we've been working with clients and students around is how to understand the self, how to understand how you learn information and make decisions based on your personality wiring, the unique person that is you. But in recent years, clients have come to us and said, thank you guys for so much, Personality Hacker, Joel and Antonia, and all of your team, for helping me understand how I'm wired and how I make decisions. But I feel like I'm off in some way. I feel like I'm not living the life path I was designed to live on this earth. I feel like I'm either really close to it, I'm living like a shadow of it, almost there, but not quite, or I'm completely off base. I'm living somebody else's path or vision for me. And maybe I've been doing it, I've just gotten the habit of it, but it doesn't really resonate with me. And can you help me know, now that I know who I am, where I'm supposed to go with this? How do I connect to a path that makes sense for my uniqueness, the way I show up to the world, the things that make sense to me and really drive me, that are tailored ergonomically for the way that I am wired personality type-wise?
Matching your personality type to your life isn't easy. It's one of those things that feels like it should be easy, but it's actually rather complex. Systems are set up all around us that are not necessarily designed to accommodate us as an individual. Sometimes we're a misfit in our life, and the way that we are wired, our personality type is wired, is just very different from the context we find ourselves in. Or maybe we were doing beautifully for a while, but we've gone to the next level in our development and growth. Yeah. And then suddenly we find ourselves a misfit in our own lives. Like, things that did fit before don't necessarily fit now. Because not only are we dealing with how we're wired, our personality type, but we're also dealing with how we grow and develop and mature over time. And things that were right for us at one point might be wrong for us now, and vice versa. So how does one make sure that when they learn about themselves, that it's not just an intellectual curiosity, it's something that can actually move the needle in their lives, help them create a life, a whole ecosystem that is ergonomic, as Joel mentioned, with their personality type, with your personality type?
Yeah.
Well, in our coaching that we've been doing for the last decade, we noticed that one of the most powerful tools that we can provide for the people that we mentor and coach with is basically a life audit, is to go through all of the aspects of your life as represented by Carl Jung's cognitive functions, or basically all of these different 8 slices or areas of life, and determine how you as an individual are interacting and responding with each of these aspects of your life. You're pre-wired to be very good at some of them and have those usually on lock. Other aspects of your life you're pre-wired to hope somebody else will take care of. But regardless of whether or not these aspects of your life are things that are natural to you or things that are not as natural, we still need to have tools, resources, and even more importantly, an understanding of our relationship to that part of our lives. Does it need to be outsourced to somebody else? Do we need a tool that helps us get through that aspect? Is it something that we're pre-wired to be really good at, but we haven't given ourselves permission to fully step into it? A complete audit of our lives really helps us understand not just our type, but our relationship to our lives. And so when we design a life path, we can make sure that the one that we're on is our own, is the one that is tailored to us. And as we go through these different options of life and have possible side roads as we're wandering down our path, we can also take into account our development and maturity. We created a program called the Life Path, our Personality Life Path, which is designed to be an audit for not just your life and not just your personality, but the relationship between these two things. How do you, as an individual with your personality type and your mental wiring, how do you best go through life? What are the areas of your life that you need to really be focused on, making sure that you are stewarding your gifts in that aspect of your life? And what are the areas of life that maybe you might be throwing a little bit too much resource at, that is something that you don't really need to be focused on? Are there areas of your life that you have healing work to do? Maybe you experience trauma in them, but you're not really wired to look at that, and so you've been kicking that can down the road. Maybe you are designed to have even greater achievement in certain areas of your life. All of these things can happen once you do a full life audit and determine what exactly is that path that you should be walking on, and are you walking it now?
Yeah, I mean, if you have one of our owner's manuals for your personality type, we use the metaphor of a car to talk about your cognition, the way you're wired. We talk about the driver, which really is the way that you move through the world, and it kind of makes sense to you in most things. We talk about your co-pilot, which rounds out your personality genius. And if you know your driver and your co-pilot, you know the two energies or the two systems of the world that you pay attention to the most, right? If you know your personality type, you know that I pay attention to these things the most. This is how I best learn information. This is how I best make decisions. And we use the metaphor of a car just to make it a simple, understandable framework for you to understand how you're wired. Well, taking that same metaphor, you're a car, let's just assume, again, a metaphor, you're a car moving through life. You have to travel multiple terrains in your life. You got to go over different roads, different mountains, different rivers, like all this terrain of life to get to your goals, to get to the outcome that you want. Well, if you're only attuned to 2 out of the 8 terrains that you have to navigate, what do you do when you get to a terrain that you're maybe not naturally wired to deal with, but yet you still have to go through that? Like, for example, maybe you're a very heavy thinker person. You're really in your thoughts, logic, things make sense to you. When you're in that environment, on that terrain, you are an amazing savant, let's say. That's your genius. That's where you show up. You at least have aptitude for it, and skill can be built to become a genius there. But what if you have to navigate, maybe, as a really hardcore thinker type, relationship challenges? Where other people, man, they seem to be super equipped for this terrain. They seem to just get it. They don't even have to be taught. They just inherently understand the relationship game. And you're going, man, I wish I knew how to navigate this terrain of relationships better, because I want relationships. Yeah, I'm a hardcore thinker type. I really have logic and frameworks in my head, but I also care about people and relating to others. Like, it's not just that I don't want that in my life. But some people in that state might, or in that framework, like if that's you, might say, you know what, I'm just gonna write them off. I'm not gonna worry about relationships, or hopefully I'll roll the dice, maybe by chance a miracle will happen and something will happen where the relationships get figured out and I can understand how to have amazing relationships, because I don't know, I feel so uncertain to even build the skill in this area. And so you shut yourself off possibly from a whole part of life that would really pour into you, make you feel fulfilled, make you feel like you're on a path that is enriched and wonderful for all the aspects of it. So, and you may be wired the opposite. Maybe you're very relational. You really understand relationships. When it comes maybe to some other parts of life, it's harder, it's rougher terrain for you. So what we're really talking about is the person that is you has to navigate through these different channels, these different terrains. And some you are going to be so equipped for. You're going to be so tuned into, it's just going to make sense right out of the gate. But there's a bunch that you're not tuned into, that you're not necessarily naturally wired to pay attention to. And yet you still have to go through those. So the Life Path Mentorship is designed to stress test each of those areas in a very gentle way in your life in real time. So we come alongside you over 8 weeks and we test each one of these areas, one a week, and we see how your relationship to this area of life shows up. Again, the week that is really your strength, your genius, is going to be probably wonderful for you. You're going to tap in and look at avenues of stretching yourself and becoming even more of who you already are. But we're going to get to a week, maybe that's not your strength, and you're going to say, okay, I see the relationship there. I see maybe some of the challenges that are coming. I see some of the things maybe I need to work on in my life that can help make this more part of my experience, more part of my life path. And I shouldn't outsource that. I should just give it off to somebody else. I should make it part of my experience.
For me, I'm one of those people who is a proverbial outside the box thinker. I'm very good at coming up with creative ideas, and I'm very good at problem solving. But the thing I'm not good at is establishing routine and doing things on a good timeline, getting all of the incidentals of my life accomplished. And so that's something that for most of my life, I just kicked cans. I just didn't deal with those things. I thought, well, maybe somebody else will handle them. And I did learn a terrible, terrible hack that if you just let papers go long enough, pretty soon they become irrelevant and you can throw them away.
So true.
And so I've dealt with a lot of aspects of my life that needed more attention by just ignoring them and hoping that they went away. And unfortunately, sometimes that actually works.
Yeah.
But when it doesn't work, it causes massive problems. And I was discovering that I really had challenges with taking care of myself, going to bed at a right time, eating at a right time, doing routines that would be not just healthy routines for me now, but things that would serve me long term. Stuff that you don't really realize how important they are until you start aging and going, oh, that's right, I'm not immortal, I'm going to die someday. So for me, going through this life path for myself and doing an audit of these different aspects of my life made me realize that I don't have the greatest relationship to basically establishing roots, establishing a really good mechanism for feeling like I've got my own, I don't know, like I can lean into my own life. Yeah. I can feel there's a solidness underneath me, particularly when it came to things like routines and making sure that I was imbuing healthy habits into my life on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. When I went through the life path concept, when we were doing audits for ourselves, and I started to realize my relationship to this, it became really, really obvious that this was something that I needed to not continue kicking cans down the road, that I needed to apply some concerted effort to this aspect of my life. Basically, in personality type terms, I was way too intuitive and I was not sensing nearly enough. And really, I had undervalued the importance of the sensory terrain. When I was putting together, and you and I were creating this program, we did a real deep dive research into some of these functions and their importance in basically our lives. Effectively, they exist for a reason, and when we ignore them, we do ourselves a massive disservice. So simply by going through the information and creating the program, I got tons and tons of insights and ahas, but it wasn't until I did a real audit of my relationship to this aspect that I started to make changes. Yeah. And that is one of the bedrock elements of the Personality Life Path 8-week mentorship, is that it's not just more information. It's not designed to just give you insights. It's designed to encourage you to make changes in your life. Doing audits not just to get insights and ahas, but to look for the leverage points, the things that you can calibrate. Yeah. Decisions and choices that you probably have known that you needed to make, but were just unsure of what to do about it. Or maybe you were unsure of how much. When we enter areas of uncertainty in our life, it's not that we don't know we need to make changes, we just don't know what changes we need to make and how big the changes need to be, and whether or not applying mental and emotional and physical real estate to those areas of our life might undermine other things that we feel like we've already gotten handled.
Or we think we know what change we need to make, we start to make that change, it doesn't make things better, it makes it worse, or doesn't seem to move the needle at all, and we're confused. Like, well, that should have worked. Why didn't that work? Right. And I do want to mention, Antonia, too, if somebody's watching right now, well, I don't have a problem getting my day-to-day tasks together. This life path probably isn't for me. I don't have the same challenge you have, Antonia. This is for people that procrastinate, aren't on schedules and all that. She's talking about herself specifically.
That's just me.
That's her personality type. Right. This program's designed literally for all personality types, no matter what you're delaying, what you're not getting on, what you're confused by, what you're off your path in. Like, you might be a person that's exactly the opposite of Antonia. You have all your ducks in a row. You file every paper, you have a great schedule, you have a great routine, you're in good health, but maybe you've been compartmentalizing some inner emotional work you need to do, right? That's the thing you've been not attending to. That's the life path you're off from.
Or you're missing opportunities. And while your life is very much handled in the day-to-day, it's actually the big picture stuff. Like, where am I actually headed? And do I have the meaning that I want to imbue into my life? Or maybe I've missed opportunities and I have regret about that, and I don't know how to ensure that I don't miss future opportunities.
Yeah, so these are some of the things that we address, and literally it's built for all of the personality types. You're gonna have some parts of the program where you are shining, you resonate with, it's your genius. Other parts it's gonna highlight to you, oh, there's some work here. Maybe I'm not on my own life path. So I ask you again, whose life path are you on? Are you on your life path, or are you on somebody else's or something else's life path? And how do we get you back to designing that life path that's ergonomic for you to get you the things, the outcomes that you actually want, the things you desire, and move away from the things that you don't want?